All right, $1.2 million, that's how much I helped one of my clients make in just 4 months. And if you guys know me, like I'm pretty low key. I don't really like to post about numbers, but I wanted to come on here real quick and make this video incredibly simple on, how we actually did this. This way you guys can make a lot more money yourselves in 2026, whether you're an operator or an offer owner. And yeah, just for some context, like this offer, it was stuck doing around 25, 30K a month. And in just 30 days, I was able to help scale the offer from 30K in June to 320K cash in July. That's a 10X in MRR growth in just 1 month, by the way. And just for some proof, like this is from one of our processors. Obviously we collected through crypto because this is a crypto offer. And then here's our cumulative dashboard, over 1 million CC and 1.4 million revenue since July. This doesn't even include December, by the way, because we shut down spots that month to actually optimize the product. And I forgot to mention, not a single dollar or dime was spent on paid ads. This is 100% organic marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, like you guys should definitely be running up paid ads, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna show you guys how we did this without it. Okay, first things first, when you're building your product and you're creating an offer, the goal here is to make it no-brainer, right? You wanna create a no-brainer offer and create some form of curiosity from the buyer's perspective. So how do you actually go about doing this? Well, there's 4 variables that you need to consider, starting with number 1, a problem that people are desperate to solve, an audience with real buying power, a clearly defined group that you guys can reach out to easily, and then lastly, a market that's growing fast. You need to be able to target each of these 4 points inside of your offer, and with each of those variables, you want to adjust your framing in a way that's going to allow you to charge 50 to 100x for the same product. Like I'm telling you, you don't even have to change the product itself. It's just the way you present it to your audience that needs to be optimized. For example, if you sell a program that says, I help people achieve their dream crypto portfolio, this is gonna be such a vague offer because it's not specific at all. So you can probably charge about $100 for this. But if you niche down a bit and you say, I help unprofitable traders scale up their portfolios and outperform retail investors, now this is where you can start charging $500 because like if someone's unprofitable, let's just say I suck at trading crypto because I low-key do. And if I'm trying to make consistent profits, then this is gonna target me as well as a specific buyer because the messaging here, it's a bit more clear. Well, what if you say, I help aspiring 6 and 7 figure crypto traders make 5 to 6 figures every single month using our alpha filter system without having to spend hours staring at the charts all day or gambling on lucky setups. This right here, this is the sweet spot and exactly what we're looking for because you can charge way more. You can charge $5,000 for this because what I'm trying to get at here is you want to find your ideal client and make sure that these clients are really understood inside of your messaging and it resonates with them because, I help people achieve their dream crypto portfolio. This is not going to resonate with anybody because it's just so vague, but if you be more specific and niche down, I'm attracting people that obviously want to make money in crypto, but, I'm really trying to target the people that don't want to spend, all day staring at their computer screens. So these are people that are like businessmen, busy professionals who have more capital as well as, people who even are beginners or experienced, but they don't have a strategy in place. They're essentially just gambling in the market. So there's a direct pain point and problem that we're targeting here as well. And with that framing you've built, you need to make your audience feel stupid for saying no, or at least, get them curious about what you actually have to offer. You also want to create FOMO and make them so aware that they have to capitalize now and take advantage of this opportunity because it's not going to last forever. With the more results you have to play with, the easier it's going to be to market to your audience. So for context, my client, he already had a ton of student results and testimonials just from his low ticket monthly subscription that he was originally charging for. And since he had all this undeniable proof of concept, like he actually does a business model himself, everything's documented on Instagram, YouTube, all the social proof is there, as well as, students were absolutely cooking inside. Like we had Lots of testimonials, like I mentioned. And on top of that, given our framing was, this is a lucrative opportunity in the markets, and there's real urgency to take action because, these bull cycles, they only happen every 4 years. When you add up these 4 elements and use them to your advantage in your marketing, proof of concept, which builds trust and raw authority, student results, that just gives you undeniable proof of concept. It's a lucrative opportunity and there's real urgency to take action. It's gonna make your job 10 times easier. And it made my job, when it came time to pushing out the new and more premium offer, feel like a no-brainer because the framing that we're trying to go with is, with this new product, we're just getting people to think like, damn, these guys have already produced crazy results. We're just making them think in their heads that this more premium offer, it's going to be the full package, right? It's all about framing. It's all about creating something that seems irresistible. Like, we're in a bull market as well. This is such a good opportunity. I'd be stupid not to buy. And even though trust is at an all-time low in today's market, your most skeptical prospects who, they see the marketing, they see all the promo, they're still gonna be curious enough to take action because they're obviously not sold yet, but they will be responsive to your marketing and will enter through your sales process and your ecosystem. Now, what if you're someone who doesn't have any student testimonials? If this is your first time ever selling something and you don't have any results to show, like student results, you need to have undeniable results and proof of concept yourself as a creator and use that to develop an edge. Your edge is the unique selling point you have to offer. Like if we just take any niche, for example, I'm just using crypto in this scenario, look at your 3 main competitors and genuinely ask yourself, why would someone choose to work with me instead of them? Right, these guys have way more authority in the market. So you need to develop a service that's your unique edge, and that's what's going to allow your offer to actually stand out. I mean, like if you look at every high ticket offer, high ticket coach in the space, there's hundreds, if not thousands of high ticket coaches nowadays. Like why would someone choose to work with someone who has barely any results compared to, someone like John Mao? He has way more student testimonials. Like everyone in the info space goes to him for closers because he produces killers. I even got one of my closers for this offer from him. But that's why it's so important. You need to figure out what you can provide that these other big coaches in the space with stronger track records don't offer. Even if you have 0 student testimonials, how you position your offer and present its value to your audience will do the heavy lifting, because at the end of the day, people already somewhat trust you. People buy from you because they like you as a creator and as a person, but guess what? Trust alone, it's not gonna cut it, especially if you don't have any student results. So you need to present your offer and its value in a way that makes someone coming in genuinely believe that it will work for them. They need to have the confidence to do it themselves. And like what I've been fucking with a lot recently, especially for our sales team in the pre-call flow, is using a Gamma pitch deck that maps out like the entire program step by step from the moment someone joins, goes through onboarding, all the way through like different stages of the program itself to ultimately get them to their goal. I'm not gonna show you guys ours for privacy reasons, but you wanna implement these as either like assets people consume leading up to the call and also on the actual closing call itself, because a large part of someone actually getting closed is having conviction in themselves that they can do this and it's realistic. Let's now talk about pricing structure, because this is quite literally the easiest lever you guys can pull to scale. When it comes to building your price point, a lot of you guys have this fear of charging more. And my creator, he had the same fear of charging over 5K. So we originally stuck with our 3K price point kind of as like a test trial before the offer was even live. And what ended up happening was we were getting tons of PIFs, tons of paid in fulls for 3K early on. Like almost every call was a PIF, and that was a clear sign that we needed to raise our prices. A simple pricing strategy that you guys can follow, especially if your order value, the average price your client pays upfront to get inside the program is 70 to 75% of your actual offer price. Double your price, double that shit. Now, if your AOV sitting around like 50% of your offer price, you can keep it as is, but the reason why you should double your price, especially if you have like a pretty high AOV, let's just say that your offer is 4K and you're getting a ton of paid in fulls for 4K, you need to be charging 8K, because what I learned is price is all perception based, especially in B2C sales. And what I mean by that is price literally does not matter. Like, let's just say for whatever reason, someone doesn't have the full 8K up front, then you can still let them in for 4K, and then the next month they pay the remaining 4K off. Like, if you can get someone to perceive the price is cheaper by making it seem like, hey, you only have to pay 4K instead of 8K until you start making money, that 4K, it's not even gonna register inside of their brain, because like, you'd be so surprised. They won't even think about it, assuming you actually have a legit program and you can deliver results. You're essentially collecting double the cash because your revenue's higher and you're pretty much starting off each month with a head start. And I made the mistake early on by not raising prices from the jump. Like, oh my God, I remember in one of the first calls we had, there was a client, he went through our funnel, entire pitch, super warm lead, by the way. And after the price drop, he was like, that's it. He thought it was gonna be 20K or something like that. And that shit hurts to hear, but it was a super bullish sign for us to raise prices. So that's exactly what we did. We increased our offer to 6K, and we also created a VIP offer that we sold on the back end for 10 to 20K a person. And this right here, this was framed as more direct one-on-one calls, more done for you services, and even framed as priority access to certain coins like airdrops and VCs where they would get early access to. And as a result, cash collected and AOV increased, as well as the sales team. We all made way more money just from increasing the prices. So if there's one thing you take away from this, raise your prices, raise your fucking prices. But yeah, that about sums it up for building out the offer and the product. Transitioning into how to go about successfully launching an offer and like the actual marketing strategy behind it. There's so many creators with offers that really struggle after a big launch, whether it be some sort of challenge funnel, live event, or webinar, where they see a massive spike in revenue and then it just completely shits the bed the next month, the month after that, until you get to relaunch another event. And my point being is, you don't want to be waiting every 3 to 4 months to rip another event. So it's really important that you are prepared for this and that your evergreen funnel is maximized, because I guarantee you guys that you will run into this problem if you aren't prepared. But when it comes to actually launching an offer itself, there are usually 3 different scenarios you'll fall into. So scenario A, you've never launched or sold anything to your audience before. It's gonna be completely brand new and fresh. Scenario B, you've sold something in the past before, whether that was like a monthly subscription type of service or maybe even a book or course material. And then there's scenario C, where you're someone who's already sold a premium high ticket product to your audience for thousands of dollars. Honestly, it doesn't even matter which scenario you fall into, because even if you have a new offer that's ready to rip, or you're re-promoting an existing product and just framing it as 2.0 or 3.0, you can always run an effective marketing campaign for it. And what I did was I ran Alex Hormozi's Whisper, Tease, Shout strategy. This is one of the most effective ways to actually create hype and drive action, especially for these really big launches. So how does it work? Well, first things first, you're gonna start by whispering that something huge is coming, and then you're gonna set a date for the official release of it. And leading up to that date, you're going to tease it like crazy. So what I mean by that is, I like to use the movie analogy, very similar to a movie trailer or a new TV show that's coming out. I'm using Avatar in this example because I recently watched it. Whenever you see a new Avatar movie that's about to drop or come out, there's a ton of hype around it. Around that date, everyone has it fresh inside of their minds. And that's essentially the same angle we're replicating with launching an offer. So what we actually did was we took all of the traffic that my client had, YouTube, Instagram, Discord, as well as an email list, and we funneled all of that traffic directly into a waitlist channel. In terms of how often we were teasing on the stories, we were doing it for 14 days straight, every other day, as well as on emails. Very important too, if your creators on YouTube, make sure that they have videos lined up throughout the waitlist period. Make sure they're ready to be pumped out, because it's just gonna help you guys out with funneling higher quality leads inside of the waitlist. And we didn't just have people, I forgot to mention, we didn't just have people join in directly into the waitlist channel from the CTA links, we used a Typeform application as, kind of a barrier to entry, which people had to fill out before they got redirected into the waitlist. And the whole purpose of it is, we're using it as market research, trying to get a better understanding of what people really want to see inside of the program, as well as, more importantly, with the waitlist itself. Like, we're just getting a better understanding of our ideal customer profile. That way we can use all of that data and then really nail it down inside of our marketing. So really important that you use this to your advantage. That way you just get a better sense of like who you're actually attracting, what your ICP is, as well as specific like assets that you can create to target your specific buyer. And inside of that waitlist channel itself, this is essentially our nurturing phase where we're emphasizing the date, we're sending them voice notes, dropping a ton of value and free game, showing student results, case studies, as well as flexing recent trades and coins that were caught, which that was super bullish and created a ton of FOMO. We also showed what the program was going to look like. And on top of all of this, I had my creator run 2 free classes. These were live classes where people inside of the waitlist, they got to learn more about his backstory, his come up, while he dropped a ton of value on the actual markets, coins that were being researched. The whole purpose of this is, we're giving them so much free value. We're breaking down limiting beliefs. And as a result, it just creates so much trust between the lead and the creator, especially if they were an ice cold lead that joined the waitlist. We pretty much turned them into a warm prospect, a warm buyer. And that's the whole purpose of the waitlist. People were ready to buy even before the official release date. They wanted in. When it comes to using scarcity, if you're a smaller creator, you should definitely use this to your advantage, like 10, 20 spots cohort method. But if you have hundreds or even thousands of people inside of your waitlist, you don't need to use fake scarcity because you know that you're gonna have real scarcity to play with, which this is gonna be so much better. So instead of like saying, oh yeah, 10, 20 spots, instead just frame your application process as very selective. And that's ultimately the angle that I decided to go with since we wanted to create a more luxury and exclusive feel inside. Okay, this is some sauce right here, so make sure you guys take notes. Near the end of the waitlist phase, like a few days before the official date of your launch, I highly recommend having your dialers, your sales team, start calling up applications from the waitlist itself and getting them in for early access. You might be wondering like why you should do this. Well, this way you're able to test your entire funnel, your entire sales process before officially launching. And I had the sales team frame these dials as, their application stood out and we wanted to give them priority access and the opportunity to get in first because we just have so many people on the waitlist, but they actually put in effort on their waitlist application form and we're giving them the opportunity to get in earlier. And I'm telling you, like these were performance leads that I've actually ever seen before. We had over a 90% close rate on these calls and 100% show rate. I'm trying to think back, like the only objections that came up were people they just couldn't afford to put all that money down at once. And something that I enjoy doing too is just jumping into the sales process myself. I remember closing two people on the phone in 5 to 10 minutes. Didn't even have to jump on a closing call, just closing the dial. That's because they were so warm and bought in from that nurturing phase that they were ready to send them the credit card info. Like it was that easy. While we're testing the funnel, we're also identifying, some of the main bottlenecks inside of our entire process. Like all of these problems that you notice inside of your funnel or your sales process, we're able to fix that before the official launch date, all while collecting cash secretly on the back end. That's how we were able to do over 100K cash before officially even launching. And a big part of that comes down to mapping your KPIs. Whenever you're setting a goal, whether that's like a specific number that you want to hit, actually do the math on it and calculate what you need to be hitting in order to get there. And with those numbers, you can create individual KPIs for the sales teams that they need to hit every single day, which will allow you to get to that overarching KPI goal. And that's exactly how we were able to crush our expected projections because of that standard that's being set. Like if you're trying to do 100K cash and let's just say the projected KPI for that is booking 75 calls, bump that shit to 100, bump that shit to 125, even 150. You want to raise your KPIs because that's just going to give you so much more room for error for your sales team to make mistakes because you set the bar higher. But the main lesson here is you just need to think bigger. Honestly, everyone is capable of doing big things, doing big numbers, but the only thing that's limiting yourself from, getting to where you want to be is what you think is only possible inside of your head, which, if you're setting lower expectations, lower KPIs, you're not going to hit your goals that you want to hit. But if you think bigger, you actually think way bigger than what you think is possible, and you do the math that's needed to get there, of course you're going to hit it, okay? Of course you're going to hit it. You'll know the standard that you need to be setting in order to get there. Okay, sweet. Now diving into our actual funnel and the pre-call flow, with the launch, we're dealing with really warm leads, and naturally over time, as the launch passes over, people are going to get colder and colder. So I'll talk about the evergreen portion in the latter half of this section, but how our funnel was actually structured and set up, as well as all of the back-end selling systems, it's damn near the same. And during the launch, how we had this set up, we didn't have an actual, a VSL landing page where people have to watch through a video before they apply. Just because, and you might be wondering, like, why did I do that? Did that because of how warm I knew the leads were gonna be, and I didn't want there to be like this unnecessary layer of friction where if people were ready to buy, it could actually do you more harm than good. So once the official launch date came around, this was July 5th, all I did was I dropped the application link, which was Typeform, inside of our waitlist channel. So I'm super excited to officially open up spots for our one-on-one mentorship group. Please don't take this for granted. And then from there, it's a simple CTA redirect to that application. Okay, diving into how our application is set up. The purpose of this is mainly just to weed out all of the people who aren't serious, who are either trolls or putting in barely any effort inside of their application. And we obviously have a financial qualifier in place depending on how much they actually have to invest into the mentorship. We don't want to waste their time. And depending on their answers, if they mark anything less than 2K, we have conditional logic in place that redirects them to options on credit. So depending on if they have good credit, we may have financing options available for them. So I think it's right here, yeah. So depending on their credit, we do offer buy now, pay later options. And if they mark over 3K, then they get to proceed to book a call. If they don't, they just get redirected into the free Telegram channel. We used to have a downsell page, but we got rid of that. I mean, a downsell, like a low ticket offer, what I was talking about earlier, but we got rid of that and just replaced that with the free Telegram itself. And if they marked over 1.5K or 2K on the actual Typeform, we would redirect them over to a booking page telling them, next steps, booking your private strategy call. You always want to have times available open 2 days into the future. If you have it open anything more than 2 days, it's going to really hurt your show rate. It's typically better to actually have the Calendly booking page integrated as the last question inside of your Typeform, but I've tested the metrics on this and there's barely a difference between the two. So if you're going to redirect to another booking page, make sure to check the numbers behind it to make sure it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to fill in a time slot just to show you guys what it looks like after you book in. What the fuck? Okay. So after you book in a call, we have them get redirected to a pre-call VSL page. And this is just to confirm that their call has been booked in, as well as what they should expect next. So they're gonna watch through the short video, pretty much just congratulating them on taking action and what they should expect next, especially before their call. We also have 4 pre-call FAQ videos right below that. And the purpose of these are really short breakout videos to pre-handle some of the main objections that we get on the closing calls. And I feel like the top 3 hardest people to close, this really goes out to any offer, are always your information getters, people who are just looking for more information. They don't watch through any of the pre-call videos, any of the breakout videos, or if you have a VSL page, they don't watch that before they apply. And it's really hard to close those leads because they're likely not going to make a decision on their initial call. It's always going to be like a 2-call close, or they end up getting cold feet and ghosting. Also, people who are newer to the ecosystem. So, these are either complete beginners or people who are just super new to your channel, barely know anything about the business model, and they feel like they're at a disadvantage because you'll normally hear, I need to do more research before committing to something so new. And then a big one that we also were getting was, how much time do I actually need to commit each day? Time objection. So we created that FAQ to resolve that before people jumped on the call. And like, you guys should be collecting data based off your sales calls and seeing what the main objections are and using that to create pre-call FAQ videos to pre-handle those before they jump on the actual closing call. And with the rest of the pre-call page, we're just showing more student results as well as testimonials. Bowen right here, this is a pretty crazy story. He turns 1K into 102K in just one trade alone. That's a 6-figure cook off one trade. And he used to be one of the biggest degens, one of the biggest gamblers inside of the group to making 6 figures in one trade. Pretty fucking crazy. We had Bayside, he turned 2K into over 300K, had a 60K day, and he's just 15 years old, by the way. If you guys can produce these types of results inside of your program, obviously these are like really rare instances. You guys, like the whole sales process alone, just like forget about it. It's gonna make your job, like your closer's job, so much easier. And then obviously we're showing more student testimonials, short form, as well as long form interviews with students inside. And then obviously below that, more student results, more wins, just more proof of concept that can't be denied. And like your pre-call page, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Just have next steps, pre-call video, pre-call FAQ videos, and then your student results and wins right below that. So yeah, that's our pre-call page. And after someone books in a call, we like to wait 15 minutes to an hour max. This way it just gives them time to go through that pre-call page, go through testimonials as well as the pre-call video. And then from there, we have the dialer perform a triage call, and it's very simple. It's just to call the lead up, requalify them, as well as confirm their appointment. And if they find out they're not qualified, whether that's they're not financially qualified or they're showing very low intent, we just cancel the call. Don't even want to waste your time. Send them to the free Telegram, as well as give them free value. And one important question you guys should have your dialers ask at the end of the triage call on the dial, after booking in an appointment or confirming the call, is asking the client if there's anything specific that they would want to see on their call with X closer, just to get a better understanding of how we can help you and make sure the call goes smoothly. And this is really good because you're getting them to spit out a potential objection that your closer can pre-handle in the discovery phase of their closing call. So for example, let's just say like Bobby booked an appointment and I'm about to perform a triage call. At the end of the call, I would say, oh yeah, just one more thing, Bobby. Is there anything specific that you would want to see on your call with X, just to get a better understanding of how we can help you and make sure the call goes smoothly? And for whatever reason, let's say that Bobby says, yeah, like I just want to really know the price because I've jumped on a bunch of different calls with other companies and just felt like their price was expensive. Well, your closer can pre-handle that potential price objection before price dropping, as opposed to going through their entire closing call. And then, the client, Bobby, he doesn't even reveal that he's talked to other companies and he has that hesitation about fear in the back of his head. And it's just gonna be an objection battle at the end of the call. So really important question that you guys should ask at the end of the triage call or a dial. If the call is confirmed, the dialer is gonna go ahead and create a WhatsApp group chat with the closer as well as the lead, just so they can introduce themselves before the call. And then we're gonna have the dialer send 4 pre-call videos. These are breakout videos that we have them consume before the actual closing call. Oh yeah, and something important that you guys should be aware of is that not everyone who goes through your sales process is going to be the same. So a big factor to consider here is context, especially on that triage call, meaning if you treat everybody the same that's going through your funnel, that's going through your sales process, you're going to have a bad time, because what I've learned is some people, they just need different ways to convert, and there's so many people who are in different stages coming into your funnel. So that's why we actually have 3 separate ICPs specifically that we send those breakout videos to, depending on which category they fall into. So we have beginners, experienced traders, as well as whales, these are your successful professionals who have a lot more capital and money to invest into the markets. And the beginners, like these people are super new to your ecosystem. So we're sending them 5 breakout videos for them to watch before their call, get them really familiarized and better understanding of how the actual business model itself works. And so with experienced traders, we're sending them higher level videos. We're not sending them beginner videos just because they already know how the business model itself works, but we're sending them like exclusive recordings of calls that were hosted inside of the mentorship, as well as like higher level testimonials from people that were beginners and turned into experienced traders. And then lastly, with these successful professionals, we're sending them higher quality wins and higher quality breakout videos, because like a $2,000 win or a $4,000 win, it's not going to amaze them because these people have so much more capital. They have more liquid to invest into the actual markets itself. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, for all of the people that drop off on the Typeform application, you guys should obviously have partial submission in place, but for everyone that was qualified, but they just didn't book a call for whatever reason, you should have your dialers call up every single one of those leads and go through the same process. Obviously, you don't have to run an actual triage call because they're manually booking them in. But with these leads, I created an ICP chart depending on which category the lead falls into. And for example, like one of my closers, Chase, he's from New Zealand, and whenever we got a lead that was from New Zealand or Australia, we always had Chase take those calls because there was so much more trust and rapport from the get-go that he had a really high close rate on these calls, and it was cash money. In terms of the pre-call email and SMS sequence, we have 7 pre-call emails in place before the actual call, which these consist of the first one being immediate confirmation and reminder to watch the pre-call videos. The other 6, these are more long-form testimonial stories, as well as breaking down limiting beliefs, value dense emails that redirect to longer form content for them to consume. And then as for SMS, we just have 3 in place, where auto confirmation with reminder to watch the pre-call, 5-minute automation set in place for them to be on the lookout from a call from our team. And then 1 hour before the actual call, we have either the dialer or the closer send a text message inside of the WhatsApp group chat, letting them know, hey name, are you still good to go for the call in an hour? If they say yes, the call gets taken. If they say no, and you don't get a response after 30 minutes, we run a double dial, still no pickup, then we just go ahead and cancel the call because they're likely not gonna show up. And then we just run a dialing sequence from there. If the call gets taken, it's gonna go one of 3 ways. Either they no-show, no-close, or close. If they no-show, we have the dialers call them on the spot, dial up 24 hours after that, and then 24 hours after that. If they no-close, obviously we always go for a 10% deposit to collect some cash from them. And then if they collect the deposit, we'll collect the remainder cash, get them onboarded. If they don't put down a deposit, or if it's some sort of like value, fear, or whatever objection, we have the dialer closers follow up and funnel them to a mini webinar, which I'm gonna touch on that later in the sales section. So make sure to stick on this video. And if it's a close on the call, we'll go ahead and have the closer onboard the client, get them access to all the materials and set up their onboarding call with the creator. And yeah, that kind of sums it up for the actual funnel pre-call flow, as well as our back-end selling systems. Okay, with your Evergreen funnel, YouTube Book a Call, this is one of the best funnels you guys should be running. Obviously, webinars, challenge funnels, those are S-tier funnels to run, especially in 2026. But the YouTube Book a Call, this is my personal favorite. And the only difference really with this funnel compared to the launch funnel I just went over is we're adding an official VSL page, so an actual video sales letter that people watch before they apply. And the reason why we're adding this in is because there's going to be a lot of people inside of your pipeline who just stumbled across your channel. Maybe they've watched like 1 or 2 videos only, and they're gonna be a lot colder compared to someone that's coming from like a launch funnel or a webinar funnel. And with the VSL in place, it's just gonna help better nurture them before they apply and jump through your whole sales process in your funnel. And I noticed that some people, they don't even use a VSL or have like an opt-in page. And I honestly think that's completely fine, but it really depends on who your creator is, as well as the offer itself. But after split testing with my client, and what I found best for value-based videos, which these are your strategy videos, your psychology videos, the trade breakdowns, just a simple Typeform on the front end with no VSL page had better conversions. And for the top of funnel content, so this is gonna be your lifestyle content, your vlogs, day in the life, we placed our VSL page as the front end before they get redirected to the application. And I don't recommend having an opt-in page where you have to fill out your contact details before watching the VSL. And I know Jeremy Haynes, he talks about this a lot, and I completely agree with him. Like, why would you give someone your contact details just so you can get pitched on, right? It's just stupid unless you're running some sort of free community funnel, a free course funnel with an upsell on the back end. Obviously, you need to create that opt-in page because you're providing free value in return for their contact details. And let's say if you are running an opt-in page, make sure to do the math on it because, and you can analyze from your CRM, whether you're using Close or Go High Level, you can do a simple tag report of the people who opted in but didn't fill out the Typeform application or booked a call. And then from that data, you can analyze how many people actually got closed from there. And if, let's say you're making good money from that and collecting a lot of cash, then absolutely keep it. Keep the opt-in, but do the math on it before you choose to keep it or remove it. Okay, if you're wondering whether or not you should run a flywheel VSL, this is a tricky question because I think YouTube flywheels, this is a really good funnel to run. You know, Iman, he made 9 figures from this funnel alone. And if you don't know what the flywheel VSL is, well, it's essentially your one video on YouTube. It's your one video, your most important video on YouTube, which is, it can either be like a 6 to 12 hour A to Z free course style, or it can be more of like a my story, you know, how trading changed my life video. And this right here, this is your VSL. I put Azrael here because his videos are funny as fuck, but every other video that you see, you know, he's posting on YouTube, it funnels to that one YouTube video in the description. So how trading changed my life. And I mean, this video right here, this is just strictly promoting the mentorship, which is why it's called the flywheel. It's going over the story, or it can be going over, you're giving a bunch of free value, but then you're making the pitch inside of that video itself, which is why it's your flywheel. Rule of thumb, if your content is majority top of funnel, lifestyle, vlog style, you know, it's not even related to the business model itself, run a flywheel VSL if your content is primarily value-based, where you're giving a bunch of value and sauce. So my client, he's about like 85% value, 15% lifestyle day in the life content. Stick with your traditional VSL book a call funnel. But now back to our Evergreen funnel. If people didn't want to apply to the mentorship inside of, you know, the YouTube description for whatever reason, maybe they're still really cold, they're skeptical, they know it's going to be a selling point, we would just redirect them, or they would redirect themselves to the free Telegram channel, which this was originally the waitlist for the launch, but we turned that into kind of like a free value, a free thoughts on the market channel where we're showing coins that are being researched, flexing student wins, testimonials, as well as just giving a bunch of free value. And this is essentially just another nurturing sequence to funnel to the high ticket mentorship. Like, I'm trying to find it, but we had a 15-year-old hit a 60K day in one day. Like, that's fucking crazy. And so like every time we would send a message in here, whether that's a voice note, a win, or just dropping value, we'd get like 20 new applications, 5 book calls. Very simple way to add calls to your calendar without hard CTAing, okay? Just provide value up front, show results. And I know it's not pinned here, but you guys can pin the actual application to the top of the channel, so it's like visible at the top and people will naturally apply on their own. Also, free course funnels. I want to talk about this for a sec because these funnels perform really well. I haven't implemented this personally, but it's a super effective way to add more cash. If, like, let's say you're running low ticket and high ticket at the same time, just get rid of your low ticket offer and replace it with a free course funnel. So all of the people who either, you know, don't close on the actual call, whether it was because they were still skeptical and they didn't get closed, or they just didn't have the money up front, you want to funnel them to the free course funnel. And this is just another in-depth nurturing sequence where as a creator, you're providing so much free value, a whole 10 to 12 hour course of content. I'm using Emmanuel Trades because he has a really good free course. But you know, people are consuming so much free value, free content inside of here, and it's eventually going to turn them into a buyer. Like, when you open this up, don't expect to make money from it right away because the journey of the prospect, it's usually going to take 1 to 2 months on average before, you know, they realize they can't do it themselves and they need the help with the mentorship. And you know, by then they've already watched 10 to 12 hours of that free course. That's going to be such an easy upsell. Like, you might not even have to jump on a closing call. They're just going to be ready to hand you their credit card info. And you can have your sales team dial up every single one of these leads and track them because obviously you've collected their contact information and you can run outbound dials. Or, you know, a lot of them will actually even reach out to you inbound and end up getting upsold. But it's kind of like this compounding effect month after month because you're just gonna get so many easy closes just from the free course alone because of how much trust is already built. And like he has 62,000 people inside of here. Just imagine 1% of that's 600 people who get upsold. And let's just say that they're not as financially qualified. So let's just say that AOV is sitting on the lower end at around 2K, okay? Let's say AOV is 2K. Well, 600 times 2K is still 7 figures cash. They're doing 7 figures cash minimum just off of the free course funnel. And yeah, this is a very, very underrated way to add more cash to your Evergreen funnel. So that's gonna wrap it up for the Evergreen portion. Okay, what I could have done better and something that you guys should be doing as well is simply adding more mechanisms to drive traffic and collect cash. Like YouTube Organic, Telegram, this shit's great and it's been treating us really well. With these two funnels alone, we're already generating 6 figures, multiple 6 figures every single month. But where most offers and most people leave money on the table is by not leveraging everything else that's around that. So like your email list alone, this should be responsible for 7 to 10% of total cash collected every single month. On top of that, you also want to be hosting at minimum 2 monthly webinars. And this is to both cold and warm traffic, as well as running a paid ads funnel on top of everything. So this is going to be funneled to your webinar funnel as well as to your book a call funnel. And you're just going to make so much more money. You're going to make fuck you money. And every $1 million a month offer already has this implemented and it's already established. And this right here, this is 3 to 4 more mechanisms that will be implemented to this offer and that you guys should be doing as well to scale your Evergreen funnel to the moon when you're not running a launch. And then my last point, you need to split test like crazy. I'm talking about even like the really small nitty gritty stuff that you don't think matters. It can have such a big impact on your total cash collected every single month. I'm trying to think back, like for example, the intro page to the Typeform, I remember there was like a period where we had a really low Typeform application start rate. So people would click apply and then just drop off before even answering the first question. And all I did was I added in one question right before that, which said, just to confirm, you're here because you want to capitalize on one of the most lucrative opportunities in crypto. And that one small change alone increased start rate by, I think it was like 35, 40%. So you're getting that many more applications flowing through the funnel and that many more book calls. And same thing with, like I mentioned earlier, split testing VSL versus no VSL. Like you need to be tracking all of this shit as an operator. And it might sound like a headache to do, but like that should be your job. It should be your role to come into the business and identify all of those little things that you can optimize and just boost in revenue. And same thing like I mentioned earlier with split testing of VSL versus no VSL. Like you need to be tracking all of this shit as an operator. And it might sound like a headache to do, but like that should be your role. It should be your role to come into the business and identify all of these little things that you can improve on and optimize. And like I guarantee you, if you keep split testing different things, you'll realize how much money you've been leaving on the table and you're gonna print stupid money. Okay, so I wanted to save the most important part for last because everything that I just walked you guys through from building out the offer, marketing it, as well as creating a high converting funnel, like none of that shit actually matters if you don't have a great sales team and if they aren't fully bought in on the same goal. And what I mean by that is you could generally find yourself in a position as a marketer where you've created the best systems, you've wrote the best copy, you've created a really good funnel, but with a poorly put together sales team, you're not gonna make shit. You're not gonna make anywhere near what you should be making. And obviously you could say the same thing, the other way around, but even with bad marketing, your sales team, they can still carry and make up for it because I believe that success in this space, it's 70% dependent on sales and 30% marketing. It ultimately comes down to the structure and the culture that you create. And so what do I mean by structure? Whether you're rebuilding a team from complete scratch or you're putting together a re-existing team, one of the highest leverage moves you need to be making is hiring a star player, okay? And a lot of offer owners, they ignore this and they're super lazy because they just hire the first rep that they think is good or what's convenient to them, If you think about every NBA team, there's always 1 or 2 star players on the team. And my point being, you should view hiring your star rep like drafting or trading for a franchise NBA player. So if you take a second, just think about the offer you're managing or your team. You guys most likely don't have that star rep. And why is it so beneficial to have these guys on your team? First of all, they will go above and beyond just their standard role as a closer. Like I would say I've had 2 star players on the team, and both of these guys, shout out my boys Chase and Jay if you're watching, like whenever there was a bottleneck in our sales process, whether it'd be a specific objection that we kept on getting, or maybe they just weren't watching the pre-call videos before their call, so they came so unprepared. I would get so much clarity on knowing, exactly what I need to fix on my end on the marketing, because I just have so much trust from their experience, and these guys have made my life so much easier by going above and beyond just their standard role as a closer. Outside of just being, a really good closer, they're gonna help you identify weaknesses that you sometimes overlook and won't see in the offer yourself. And on top of that, it's gonna create this positive ripple effect on the rest of the sales team where they're gonna be driven to, become that next star player, especially if it's like a dialer who's trying to become a closer. And I feel like a lot of sales reps, they like to offer stack, meaning, they jump on a bunch of different offers. But with the team that I've created here, everyone's here for the long run because they actually see a long-term vision of themselves evolving inside of the company. And like, if your team, they don't have that type of mindset and that type of goal, then you're just gonna run into a ton of error. Okay, in terms of how the rest of the team was structured, in total, we have 3 closers. 2 of them are full-time, 1 of them is part-time, as well as 4 dialers, 3 full-time, 1 part-time. I have it set up so, people can self-book on their own, and the calendar, it's set to round robin, so it randomly assigns a call to a closer. And with each of the closers, I pair them up with a dialer, meaning, whoever went through the funnel and whoever booked a call with, let's say, closer B, I would have dialer B run the triage call and create the group chat with a lead before they actually jumped on call with the closer. And this structure, it's just so efficient because each of the groups that I created, the closer and the dialer, they built really good chemistry where there's good flow, communication is on point, as well as like the whole process itself, like the triage process, the group chat process, it was very smooth. And also, if you guys have really good dialers who are training to become closers, you can create a hybrid structure for them. And that's something that I did where instead of potentially wasting a time slot or a closer's time with someone who's borderly financially qualified, let the dialer take care of that closing call. Like you guys can bump up one of your top dialers and have them take calls with those 1 to 3 star leads because like although the closer or the star rep, they don't want to waste time, someone that's iffy financially, it's still very important to not leave anything on the table, which is perfect with the hybrid structure. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys 2 methods that I've used, which you guys can implement to make an extra 5 to 6 figures a month. First one's gonna be your back-end ascension closer. And this is one of the easiest ways to collect cash on the back end simply by leveraging existing lead flow without having to do any sort of promo. And this funnel right here, this is your low to high ticket or your high ticket to your VIP offer funnel. As obvious as it may seem, there is a catch because it can be kind of tricky where most offers, it's either you have someone that has no experience closing, but is super qualified and an expert in the niche. So like one of the mentors inside the program, or you have your closer who's obviously very skilled with sales, but they don't have anywhere near the level of knowledge of the actual like business model, like crypto or real estate that the creator or the mentor has. And the framing can kind of come off as a bit too salesy and it can be a turnoff for the person that's trying to get upsold. It's kind of like choosing between someone that is trying to sell a prospect on, let's say, a real estate offer, but they don't have any experience in real estate. So you can't really answer any of the really specific questions that come up. But on the bright side, he's really good at closing versus, someone else that is horrible at closing. They don't have any sales skills, but they're an expert in real estate and they can answer the difficult questions that might pop up. So I was fortunate to have one of our closers play as a back end upsell funnel because he was already super experienced in crypto. And when it came to a specific technical and niche question that a standard closer wouldn't know, it was super easy to answer those questions. And like if objections came up too, he was able to reframe and overcome it because he knew how to close. So like if you don't have someone who can fill that gap, your back-end close rate is going to be extremely low. And so I highly recommend just having your creator take those calls instead. Like people, they're more likely to get upsold when they're talking directly to the face of the brand because there's more trust and there's more authority that's already established. And like you might be wondering, why would my creator want to do that? Isn't that low leverage? Well, if you think about it, if they're taking 3 to 5 calls a week at a 50% close rate, that's 2 closes a week at, let's say, a 7K ticket price. That's an extra 14 grand a week, as well as on top of that, an extra $60,000 a month. So lots of money that you should be collecting just from the back end upsells alone. Okay, let's talk about method 2, which is the secret Q&A call. And this is honestly one of the easiest ways to add an extra 5 to 6 figures a month in cash in just 4 to 5 hours of extra work every single month. So how this works is throughout the week, you're going to funnel all of the people who didn't get closed for, whatever reason, whether it was a specific objection that couldn't be overcome, skepticism, fear, just wanting to actually get the chance to talk to the creator before paying. We would funnel all of those no closes to a private Q&A call, which was essentially a mini webinar. So instead of playing tag with your leads and looking desperate for the follow-up, we framed these calls as they got the chance to jump on call with the creator in the face of the brand and go over anything that was holding them back. Like, we're here to help. And like on these calls, we're literally just overcoming their limiting beliefs. It's almost like a webinar. And our sales team, they would give the creator notes on each person, like what they were skeptical about, why they didn't close, as well as how much they were pitched on. That way, the creator, he could prepare responses to handle those limiting beliefs. For example, there was someone who was skeptical if, the creator actually did the business model himself, even though like everything's documented on Instagram as well as YouTube. And so he jumped on the Q&A with my client and yeah, he showed him the Axiom dashboard and boom, that was a PIF, easy close. So I highly recommend you guys try this method out because it's a very simple way, but effective way to close more deals with barely any more work. And like, if you're trying to figure out when to run these, I would say definitely host these on Sundays, usually in the afternoon. That's when most people are free. But yeah, those are 2 methods that I think you guys should definitely use if you guys want to collect more cash. Okay, what does team culture look like inside of a winning sales team? When you guys are winning and like the whole team is making money, you should have fun with it. And that's what creates good chemistry. But more importantly, like how do you actually build this strong culture though? And it comes down to one word, and that one word is respect, okay? And I feel like a lot of sales managers and operators, they like to be more of a hard ass and strict. Like, don't get me wrong, you definitely need to set clear expectations on, what's tolerable and what's not. But what I believe to be more effective, instead of, just demanding orders, is leading by example. So a couple months ago, I noticed that some of the dialers on our team, they got extremely comfortable and lazy. I don't know what it was with them, but instead of being a dick about it and demanding orders, telling them do this, do that, I went back into the trenches myself and I ran dials. Like I remember booking in, I think it was like 6 calls in just the span of 1 hour, which 5 of them got closed for 6K the very next day. And I think we had it was like a 30K day. And that day it lit a fire in them because in their heads, they were thinking like that money, it should have been theirs if they had just done their job, been on top of dials, and actually knocked out their KPIs. So when you lead by example and show excellence, as a result, you'll expect the same out of them. And I think this is way more effective than just telling them to do this, do that, because they're not gonna listen if they don't respect you. Like a lot of people in this space have big egos and they treat their sales team like actual slaves and employees. I never like to view it like that. Obviously, yes, you hired them and technically they're working under you, but everyone's role is just as important and it can significantly impact the business, both positively and negatively. And it's the really simple stuff too. Like if someone ever makes a mistake, never try to publicly embarrass them or call them out in front of other people. Like generally, what good does that do? There's no benefit to doing that because besides making them feel very insecure about themselves, and that can be bad, okay? It can actually negatively impact their performance, right? So instead, just privately talk to them one-on-one. Like this is non-negotiable stuff. You guys all know this, very simple. And communication is very important too because this has to be on point. We don't even run structured meetings, structured calls, but we still talk almost every single day, either on the phone or we'll just jump on Discord VC. And if your sales team, if they don't respect you, I'm sorry, they're just not going to perform at the level that you want them to perform at. Because like they're not gonna care about what you have to say since you're just demanding orders and being a dick about it. All right, if you guys find yourself having to constantly remind, motivate, and push your sales teams to do their jobs, some other tips that I've seen work really well with other top performing teams. First one's the anonymous MVP voting form, where how this works at the end of every single month, everyone on the team is going to fill out who they think the MVP was. It's gonna be completely anonymous, and whoever gets the most votes, they'll get a 1 to 2K bonus, or you can set whatever the bonus amount you want. And this is really good because it's going to incentivize everyone on the team to work harder. Another one that I've seen work really well are cash competitions. And I haven't done this one yet, but you guys can create games where you either split up the sales teams into multiple groups or 2 teams, and whichever team brings in the most amount of cash at the end of the month, they're gonna get a performance bonus. It's just another way to create more motivation and more hunger for them to get that extra cash. Oh yeah, I like this one a lot. So whether it's like, prior to a new launch, or you're just trying to make sure that everyone on the sales team, they know the offer really well, better than anybody else, you guys can implement things like Kahoot. And this is gonna make sales more fun because it can be really, really boring at times, especially if you're just running dials all day, or you're taking calls back to back to back to back. And implementing these small things by making it more enjoyable and actually having fun with it, it's good for team culture. Like I'm telling you, everyone on the team, we're all having fun with it, but we all know what we got to get done at the end of the day, and that's the culture that I've created here. And that's my final point. A lot of people don't like sales, and it can get really boring, but if you find ways to make it more fun and more enjoyable, great things will happen. Okay, biggest takeaways from everything that I went over today. First one's actually do the math, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, if you have a certain goal that you wanna hit, reverse engineer that shit and do the math to figure out, specific KPIs, specific stats that your team needs to hit, that your sales reps need to hit, so that you can crush on what it takes to actually get there. Okay, takeaway number 2, and this is super important, adding more unique conversion mechanisms. So if you're trying to scale really hard, I'm talking about 500K months, $1 million months, you need to implement new ways to convert an audience, right? Every offer that's doing over $1 million a month plus is maximizing every funnel, every mechanism to their advantage. And for me personally, not leveraging cold traffic has been holding the business back because it's a game of numbers once you've already maximized organic lead flow, as well as your sales process is completely dialed. So yeah, you need to be investing into paid ads and using new mechanisms to convert your traffic. And then lastly, I know I talked about this earlier, but this is honestly the most important lesson here. If you think even bigger, you will achieve every goal that you're trying to hit. Okay, like if you have a goal in your mind, let's say you want to hit 100K a month with a client, and this ties into actually doing the math on it, because you're going to set specific tasks, you're going to set specific KPIs that are needed to hit 100K a month. But in reality, you're just limiting yourself by not thinking bigger, because you literally could be doing 250K a month. You could be doing 500K a month. You just don't know it because you set that standard of 100K a month. But my point being, if you change your standards on the business, as well as like what's necessary to hit a certain goal, of course you're gonna do everything you can to get there. Like there's no way you don't hit it. All right, I'm done yapping. That's gonna be a wrap for this video. And yeah, I really hope you guys took notes and enjoyed the video. I really felt like this was a banger. And obviously there's a lot more that goes into this, and if you're a coach or consultant and you have an offer that's still stuck doing less than 6 figures a month in 2026, feel free to book a call below and we can talk. But yeah, and if you're an operator yourself, or if you have any questions, just DM me on Instagram. I don't sell a course myself. I'm not doing any of that bullshit. I honestly just enjoy helping people out, and that's why I'm starting this channel. So yeah, I'll catch up boys in the next one.